Okay, hello again everyone. I apologise if I'm looking over here or here or here. I've got all three screens hooked up to do other things all at once. Put this down a little bit. So I just wanted to do another game programming thingy, as you can plainly see. So what I've done is I have upgraded my engine to DirectX 11. Now, setting up DirectX 9 wasn't that hard. Like, this is the code here. Ignore the fact that it's kind of grayed out. So this is setting up the window up to there, and this is setting up DirectX. It's pretty simple. I mean, what is it? It's like 20 lines of code. Yeah, 24 lines of code with all the spaces and shit in between. So it's pretty simple. And then I started doing some DirectX 11 stuff. And dear God. So I actually had to split it out into a bunch of different functions, but so this is my window initialization, which is pretty much the same thing. It just looks a bit different because of the tutorial I followed. Did borderless windows, which I think look a bit better. I'll probably end up changing my DirectX 9 stuff to that. This gets the information for the graphics card, so you get display resolutions, refresh rates, all that kind of bullshit. This sets up the back buffer and swap chain. This sets up the depth buffer, the depth stencil, so that's for 3D stuff. I really don't need that, but I put it in there anyway. Depth view, the rasterizer, viewport. You have to use shaders, so that's the shader. All the shaders do is just grab the texture and just plank it on the screen. And that's more shader stuff. And that's the blend state to enable alpha and that kind of stuff. And that's from line 640 all the way back up to 180. So like 500 lines. Freaking ridiculous. But, and this is the most annoying part, so let me just flick you back over here. I got two different executables and two different DLLs now for my engine and the game I'm making. I apologize if the camera's just a little bit smaller on this screen. I know it'll flick between, I couldn't get it exact. But this is DirectX 11. Now you'll see my average FPS kind of hovers about 36, 3500. There's only one thing on the screen. It really shouldn't be too labor intensive on the graphics card. I close that and open up this one, which is DirectX 9. Oh, it's actually slower now. I know. Okay, there you go. Average is about 3900. So I've lost about 10% of the performance. That's probably because of my own ineptitude, to be honest. I haven't done a whole lot to make it quicker, like optimize. That's the word I was looking for. So yeah, I've only got one thing on the screen at the moment, but this engine works exactly like the DirectX 9 and DirectX 11 engines work exactly the same, but for some reason they do look just the tiniest bit different. If you compare the fonts, this one's I got anti-aliasing on, that's why. This is very raggedy and sharp, but this is all anti-alias. That's probably why it's slower now that I think about it. So ignore my previous comment, because I'm a fucking idiot. But yeah, I just thought I'd sort of show the differences. Just let me flick it back over to here and bring this over here instead. So that obviously the setup code's a bit different. My loader is a bit different, and the way I'm doing this is I've got this guy here. I got two different build releases. Well, four. Well, I should have four, but I've only got three. And the only difference between this guy and this guy, they've got a preprocessor directive, 2D DX11. So if I've got that, then it's DirectX 11. It's not, it's DirectX 9. I mean, I could have if DirectX 11 or if DirectX 9 or if nothing, but I don't really see the point. So I don't set up the render options anymore. That's done through DirectX, so I can actually delete that. So that's all the shader stuff and the alpha and all that bullshit. It used to be DirectX 9 had these set render state things, which enables alpha and turns off lighting and set up your flexible vertex format, which is, you know, you have portable. I can't think of the word. Custom vertex definitions. I did make a change here. I turned up so the console starts up straight away because I was debugging, and then before it would get to the setup of the console, it would just sort of crash out. Excuse me. Yeah, so instead of using, where is the DirectX 9 clear begin scene, I've just created the function for that, which basically does the same thing. There is no really begin. function for DirectX 11. It's kind of just you clear it and then you present it. You don't really need to clear it either, because if you're doing like a game, you'll never have blank space. It doesn't make any sense to have blank space. But because I'm only testing for now, it's a lot easier. It still does all the update stuff automatically, console, all that kind of stuff all works. And then there's just an end scene function instead of just the present, which basically just presents. What does this do? This if you have VSync on, it'll only present it every 1/60th or whatever, one refresh rate of a second, which is handy. But at the moment I have VSync off, that's why I get like 4,000 frames a second, just to test performance and stuff. So I had this loader split into 2 files before, but I put it all into one just for brevity's sake. The texture database is mostly the same, except I have this now texture defined, because I can switch between my 2 textures because they're different, instead of me having 2 different texture databases, which was a bit redundant. Input, I'm still working off the DirectX 9 stuff. Direct Input 8, apparently. It's been a while since I've looked at this. This is one of the first things I did, and that was in like 2011 or something. So it's been quite a while since I've actually looked into this. So I'll end up changing this to Direct Input 11 or 12 or whatever it's up to now. So that's all the same. The camera, I think, yeah, it is slightly different. Because before I would just use this device, DirectX 9 device set transform, and now I plug it into the shader instead, and the shader does all that stuff in the background, which means it runs off the graphics card too instead of the CPU, which is handy. But I'm guessing that does the same thing off the graphics card now, to be honest. Yeah, probably. So that's the only thing different in those two. It's just the camera setup function, which is kind of a misnomer. It's kind of like a render camera, I guess. I don't know. And I changed textures, obviously. So before it's still kind of brief as well. Like it was just this one function, either from memory or from file, depending if I'm using my like roll your own file system thing. And then load a default texture if you're not, and then grab the width and height. Now it's pretty much the same thing. That's the old code. Except now it's just D3DX11 create shader resource view from memory or from file. Then you gotta like query the interface, do some weird shit to get the width and height. Which that took me a while to figure out because I have no idea how to use this shit. I've struggled a bit with DirectX 11. I'm just too old, I think, to be honest. But it works. It works pretty well. It grabs the width and height even from the stuff in memory, obviously. I used to have it from the file, which is a bit shorter, but I couldn't do that with my like from memory. I think that's the only thing different here. No, actually, this render queue is different. Obviously, the render functions are a bit different. That makes a lot more sense. So everything else is the same. I probably could combine this into one texture file, which I probably will end up doing, but for now I was just doing it as quick as possible, get it working. So before you'd like create your buffer, you'd load all the stuff in, set the texture, set the source, which is your buffer, and then draw it. And then delete your buffer because you don't need it again. It's pretty much the same thing now, except you set up this view description, a vertex buffer description, sorry, which sets up the width, the amount of triangles and everything you're throwing into the thing, and the bytes and blah blah blah. Well, actually, it's just the bytes, because I think you set up the point count, i.e., throw the point count into the draw function. So it's similar, but yeah. Excuse me. And it all pretty much works the same. I don't think there's much else I changed. No, there's not. So that's it. It's kind of, I won't say it's a brief video. I don't know how long I've been talking for, but probably a while. But it was interesting at the very least getting it working. What took me the longest was getting alpha working, only because I'm an idiot. And like I set up this function down here. Where are you? To set up the alpha blend state. I'm like, why the fuck isn't this working? I changed all these around and blah, 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 blah. And I look up some tutorials and it's all the same. It's like, why isn't mine working? I forgot to call the function from the setup function, and then it just didn't work, obviously, because it was never being called. I'm like, you fucking asshole. And it was just such a clusterfuck. And this is the tutorial I followed. It's a Rastertech. Really in-depth, really good tutorials. If you're learning, it's very good to look at. Yeah, I think that's just about it. Like, if I load up that guy, I don't know why. What do I do? Probably, yeah, put a space in accidentally. I do that so much, just accidentally mash the keyboard. So like as you can see, the alpha's working here, and collision detection obviously is working. Mouse clicks are working. This is just me testing shit. My default texture is working, which is loaded from automatically when it fails. Yeah, keyboard input's working. That's it, really. I'm going to stop there. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm not very good, but I'll answer as many as possible, which will probably be 0. Hope you've enjoyed this video. I've enjoyed talking about it, and I will catch you guys next time. Bye.